Welcome to the show, everyone. Appreciate everyone listening tonight. I want to talk for a moment about people's encounters, and for those of you out there who have had encounters, I think the bulk of our audience probably has not had an encounter, but is either intrigued by the subject or enjoys the subject. Those of you who have had an encounter will understand what I'm talking about. I took a video. I wanted to show people on Sasquatch.Chronicles.com what the area looked like where Woody and I had our encounter. So I went up there. I have bought a cheap GoPro, went up to the place and started filming it. And as I was filming it, I almost didn't post this to the website because I looked pretty wimpy in the video, and I didn't like how I portrayed myself. But it's interesting when you retell an experience, retell an encounter, and as you've heard many encounters on the show, you get a sense that the person is reliving what they're going through. And it's true, when you've had an encounter, you do relive the moment. And so, in my great idea of going up and filming the area where Woody and I had our encounter, it bothered me more than I thought it would. And as I was filming it, kind of explaining, here's where they're walking in on us, here's where the one crawled up on us, here's where here's where all these different things happened, and kind of explaining the area, it really hit me when I was filming where the one had walked across the road. And it really bothered me. I think the point, it's funny, your mind turns into almost like a movie reel. And as I was sitting there filming it, explaining where this one had walked across the road, all I could picture in my mind was that monster walking across the road and preventing us from leaving. And so it really bothered me. I appreciate everyone's nice comments on SasquatchChronicles.com. It wasn't easy for me, so I definitely appreciate everyone's nice comments. Here's a clip from the actual video. As you can imagine, coming up here at night, I mean, it looks kind of eerie during the day, but as you can come up here at night, it's even more creepy. But this is the game trail road I talked about that Woody wanted to put it in four-wheel drive and go down. And we stopped about right here, and that's when Woody got out of the car and wanted to take a look at the game trail so he could jump back in and tell me everything's okay. We got four-wheel drive, let's go. And off to our left is where we first started hearing footsteps, and I'll hop out here and show you. Man, it's creepy as hell up here. When we're sitting in the car, and I'll show you off to our left over here is where we started hearing footsteps, something walking through this area right here towards the car. And right now it's February, but during the time of our encounter it was November, and as you can see, it's still kind of open, but this was a lot more open in November, a lot more trees, a lot more deadfall. This is the road where all the leaves were, where I talked about the thing crawling out. But as we sat in the car, footsteps started off in this direction coming towards us, and we could hear this thing walking through the brush coming towards us. And off in this direction I could hear another set coming in on us, and right directly in front of us, down a little ways, we could hear another set coming towards us. So we sat in the car, started hearing the footsteps come in, and trying to figure out what was going on. At the time of our encounter, this whole thing was a pile of leaves sitting up here that had fallen, and just debris that had fallen. And as we were hearing the footsteps come up, something had come out of the brush. I want to say in this general direction, came out of the brush and came up, and this is where it started crawling towards the back of the car. Both of us had our windows down. We could hear this thing just coming through the brush. It would stop. It would growl at us. It'd come up a little bit more. And it's obviously, it wasn't up walking like I'm walking. This thing, I'm pretty sure, was down on its hands and knees, crawling towards the car. But it would growl, come up more, growl, all the way back up. And I'm pretty sure it came up to to our back bumper. And that's when we decided to back up and get out of here. To actually get out of here, the road that we came down is this road. It's the only road in. It's the only road out if you want out of here. This just takes you deeper and deeper and deeper into the woods. This is actually Yakult Mountain. I think that you can probably hear the river down there. And I'll take you down there in a second and show you. But we've tried to climb up this, and it doesn't look like much, probably from here where my camera's sitting, but that's a pain. It's a lot thicker than it looks, and it's just a pain to get up into that area. When we came back to get the GPS, this is where we had seen footprints, and if I grab it off Facebook, I'll show you the footprints, but this is where we saw. As you can see, the ground's not great for footprints, but right here on the hill, we got a pretty good footprint of this thing stepping and going back up. And I kind of think, I mean, if you were to ask me, I think they're up on that hill. I think they come down at night, and we've been up here many times. We've heard roaring from up in this direction. We've heard screaming from up in that direction. We've heard whooping. But as we backed up, and we turned the car around, we pulled the car. Woody probably drove, 30, 40 feet, something like that. And we'd stopped here, so Woody turned the car off and said that he just needed a second, couldn't drive us. Both our hands were shaking. I was looking straight ahead. Woody was looking up to his left. And in this tree, it looked like a monkey wrapped around. Just had its legs wrapped around, had its arms wrapped around. And it just looked like a monkey in a tree. And I remember leaning over out of the car and looking up and just seeing this monkey in a tree. And as I sat back down and him and I just kind of talked about it, I had asked, I told him I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a monkey in a tree. And about that time, off in this direction up here, we could hear breathing. Something breathing heavy. Couldn't see it. But in this whole area, the moon was coming up from this direction and was just lighting this whole area up. But up on this ridge up here, something was breathing real heavy at us, and we just couldn't see it. This is about where our car was stopped, where we had stopped to. I wanted to kind of show you. There's these white trees. I think they're white, kind of white trees. And as the moon was coming in, it was lighting this whole area up. Now, these things were coming behind the car, and they'd come from my vantage point in the car, looking down at my mirror, looking up at this hill, listening to the breathing. I could see these white trees. Something was running, what I know now what it was, but at the time I didn't know what it was running across this road. It would stand by these white trees, and as the moon was coming in, it was lighting everything up. I could make out a figure or whatever it was, but it would almost block these trees. Then it would take off running this way. And it did it a couple times. It would run across this here, stand in front of these trees, run back.